These are our last day of notes for the idea of slope. So today we're introducing another new vocab word, but again, it's not a new idea, just a new word. We are changing our idea of starts with. We are now going to replace that with the word Y-intercept, because that dot is the part of the line that intercepts or crosses on the Y-axis. So go ahead and get what you have here copied down. We'll talk about it, and then we just have some example problems to work through together. Okay, so like I said, new vocab word is highlighted there. It's Y-intercept. That is the correct mathematical vocabulary for what we have been calling our starts with, is the Y-intercept. So we put it into our equation. Y equals mx plus b is the same rule we've been using for a bunch of weeks now. Last week, we figured out that m is no longer growth. It's now called the slope. And so today we're adding that b is no longer called starts with. We're going to call it our Y-intercept. So get these two connected in your brain. B is the Y-intercept. The Y-intercept is our starts with. So what we're going to focus on today is how we're going to use this idea that we developed, I think, a week and a half ago of rise over run to graph a rule. So what you've done is you've taken a graph and come up with the rise over run. So now if I give you your rise over run, can you graph it? So on your right side, we'll do two examples, and then on the left side, you'll do one example. So if you want to start here, get this copied down. If you really want to get ahead of it, you can get two graphs copied. This is the we do side, so you can do it with me on this recording. So copy this down, pause it, and then we will go through it. Okay, so here's our rule over here on the left. Let's see. And I've drawn little arrows to all kind of the important pieces that we need when we're graphing. So we know that this whole thing is our m, so that's going to be our slope. But particularly because it's a fraction, I've drawn an arrow to each part of it. So if we remember, the top part of the fraction is our rise, and the bottom part of our fraction is our run. We'll be able to graph that. And then I've also drawn a letter to our b, which we know is the Y-intercept. That's the new vocab, Y-intercept, which we also recognize as starts with. Okay, so if we want to graph this line, we start the same way we always do when we're graphing. We start with our starts with, start with your Y-intercept. So if that's at -3, we know that that dot goes right on this line, and it's going to go at the -3. So my first dot is going to be at -3 is where I'm going to start graphing. From there, we just do rise over run. So my rise is 3. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. There's your rise of +3. My run is 4. So from there, I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where you're going to put your next dot. Right? And when I connect those, that's going to make that little triangle, right? You should see that triangle normally. We need at least 3 dots, so I'm going to do that again from this dot. I need to go up 3 is my rise, so up 1, 2, 3, +3, this was +4, and my run is 4, so I need to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, run of 4, and that's where your next dot will go, is right there. And again, when you connect them, it makes that little triangle of your rise over your run. And then just kind of like we always do, I would have you take a straight edge and make that line go out a little further, both directions. So I used the rise of 3. I went up 3, then I ran 4, which came from over here, rise 3, run of 4, up 3, over 4, put a dot. Then from there, do it again. Rise 3, run 4, there goes your next dot. Okay, go ahead and set up the next problem on the we do side. This is still your right side. Okay, just like last time, I'm going to label the different pieces of this rule. So this +4, that's your B. So that is your Y-intercept, which we also know as our starts with. Okay, and then I want you guys to notice that this was a negative, and then that 2 is your rise, and the 3 is the run, because the whole thing is the slope. Okay, so with all that information, start with your first dot. Start with your Y-intercept. This one is at +4. The Y-intercept goes on the Y-axis. It intercepts the Y-axis. It's going to intercept it at +4, so that's where you put your first dot, at that +4. Okay. This time my slope is negative. So when I rise, I'm actually going to go down because it needs to be negative. So my rise was -2. So from this dot, we're going to go down, down 1, down 2. So there's -2 was your rise. And we need to run 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's 3. So our next dot is going to go right there. When you connect those dots, you should get a little growth triangle. And then from that dot, we're going to do that again. My rise is -2. So we're going to go down 1, 2. So -2. My run is 3. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3. And that's where my next dot goes, right there. And again, when you connect them, you should get a little growth triangle. Then we use our ruler to make our line nice and long. And so there is the graph of a negative line. So I'm going to put the negative goes with that 2, -2/3 x. So my line has to go down. Okay, what questions do we have on the practice together? Now you need to try one on your own. So either room on the right side, I don't really care, or go over to your left side and try get this one done. And this is the you do. So try it on your own, hit pause. Again, don't just watch me go through it because you're not going to get any better just watching me do it. Hit pause, try it yourself, and then check and see if you got it right, or do parts of it by yourself and hit play and pause kind of as you're going to check in and see if you're doing each step right. Okay, just like last time, I'm going to label the important pieces of this rule that are going to help me graph it, starting with my Y-intercept, which we also know as the starts with. Okay, then I know that this whole number is the slope, but I know that that 3 in particular is my rise, and the 2 is my run. So knowing all that information, I'm ready to graph it, starting with -3. That's the Y-intercept, so it goes right on the Y-axis. It intercepts the Y-axis, in this case at -3. So that's where we'll put our first point on the graph. Okay, from there, I need to rise and run. This is positive, so it's going to be up and over. My rise is 3. So from that dot, I need to go up 1, 2, 3. And I need to run 2. So I'm going to go over 1, 2. Put my next dot right there. When you connect them, you should get a nice little growth triangle. Now I'm going to do that again. My rise needs to be 3, so we're going to go up 1, 2, 3 spaces. My run needs to be 2, so from there we're going to go over 1, 2, and put your next dot right there. Connect those guys to make a little triangle, and then go ahead and extend that line so it's a little bit bigger. And that's what the line for that looks like. So right now, what would you rate yourself as a level of understanding for when I give you the rule? Can you find your rise, run, y-intercept, and graph it?